and welcome back to Finding Fashion. Today I'm so excited to welcome Annie Holt, who is the founder of fashion brand Ethereal London. Thanks so much for joining me, Annie. It's lovely to see you.
Oh, thanks for having me, Hannah. I'm really excited to join you.
Oh, it's great to have you on. Lovely to have you on. Right, so can you tell me a little bit more about Ethereal London and what it is that you do?
So Ethereal London is a luxury women's wear brand, and the premise is that I want to give confidence to women and give them the style choices so that when they're choosing their outfits, that they feel they have control over how they look, because obviously one size doesn't fit all. And everybody's got their style preferences and areas of their body that they're more confident about or less confident about.
I completely agree. Like, there's so many fashion brands out there who kind of do a bit of like a one size fits all. And, everybody's got different tastes. Everybody's got different areas of their body that they're confident about. So it's amazing that you're creating a brand that responds to so many different like styles, different tastes, like different areas of people where they feel most confident. So very exciting time for the brand. So when you were in the development stages of the label, how did you kind of really go about developing like the brand values?
So I think starting with the customer really, and who I wanted to target and how I wanted to service them, answering the question that they had. I did a lot of research. My background, I worked on the high street previously as head of buying and design for a petite brand, and ironically I'm not petite, I'm 5'10". So it kind of brought up lots of customer feedback and questions around fit and size basically, and challenges that people have. So I kind of had that already, all that information, and it was basically honing it down to what I wanted to stand for as a brand and what I wanted to deliver for these customers and what I felt was lacking on the marketplace. And I think I definitely wanted to make sure that the overarching feeling of the brand was kind of feminine and elegant and for women, not for girls. So, catering for this level of the market that I think is underserviced.
Mm-hmm. Completely. And I think the beauty of the brand, that it is able to kind of embody women who have different personalities. How do you kind of work with women and use that feedback, as you say, to kind of ascertain like how women want clothes to make them feel?
So I think most women that I've worked directly with come with the same thing. They want to feel confident, they want to feel feminine, but they want to feel themselves. They don't want to feel dressed up like somebody else. So I think starting with where they're going and their kind of style to begin with is the best way, and then going from there and helping them find the piece and the fit that works for their body. Like I say, everybody's got a different area of their body that they're happy with and other areas that they aren't. And once you kind of focus on the parts that they like, they automatically feel more confident.
So a lot of the styles that you carry kind of come in different lengths, they come in like slightly different styles. What's the process like when you're creating those designs, when you're kind of keeping in mind like different body shapes? How do you make those clothes kind of suit those different body shapes?
So I think it is all about, those smaller details, things that people might not notice so much, but, the positioning of the waist where that hits so that the fabric skims the body beautifully, making sure that they're not too tight, but at the right point, even down to where you mentioned lengths, making sure it hits the right part of the calf, not the widest part. These small little things add up to quite a big impact in how you feel about yourself. I mean, if it hits in the wrong place, it can make you look that little bit wider, or your legs look that little bit shorter. So it's just clever cutting techniques and attention to detail really, and starting with the female, the curves, womanly figures at the beginning, and making sure if I'm doing a wrap dress that it's not too revealing, or that it's fixed so it doesn't fall open and you don't feel like you're constantly messing with your dress, because all of those factors make you feel less confident when you're out and about.
So earlier on during lockdown, I came to an amazing kind of virtual press day with you. And excitingly, you talked me through a collection that you were launching, which is all about creating a collection out of excess fabric. How do you go about sourcing those fabrics that are not only going to suit your brand, but are also, kind to the environment?
So I've basically chosen a small number of fabrics to work with. I like to work with obviously premium and more luxury fabrics than you might see on the high street. Silk is a key one for me purely because of the way it performs. It's very durable. I think most people think that silk is very delicate. It hangs in a way that is very delicate, but actually it's a very durable fabric. Silk bamboo is another fabric that I use, merino wool and viscose. Now, silk bamboo and the viscose are amazing fabrics when you're trying to source environmentally, because bamboo grows naturally, it grows quickly, it doesn't need any fertilization or pollutants, and when farmed correctly, it's a very sustainable fabric. It just has to be certified, and that's something consumers have to be clear on, that the source is correct. Viscose is another natural fiber made from tree pulp, so again, another great fabric to work with. And then, as you say, I kind of then look to other sources, so available fabrics. So the marketplace has got lots of fabric. Kind of call them dead stock, which sounds a bit negative because it's just left. Another customer might have left it, they might have cancelled, you never know what's happened to it, but there's amazing fabrics on the market that otherwise are going to go to landfill. So I try and utilize sources and create beautiful things from available resource, basically, so I'm not generating any new resources. So actually, one of the collections, specifically the merino wool, that was an amazing find during lockdown. It was all available dead stock, someone had cancelled, so I turned it into my loungewear collection.
Oh wow. So during the design process, there's so many different ways in which, not just within fabric, but also the different ways in which you can be kind of help your impact on the environment and your carbon footprint. And when we were talking before, you spoke about how you're using 3D design technology to kind of reduce the requirement for physical samples. What about those kind of smart manufacturing processes are they that are so pivotal to your business?
So when I started the brand, I was really keen to innovate in any way I could, because there's always new technologies coming to the marketplace, and I think if you're at the forefront, then you can be doing have more of a positive impact if you embrace them early. So the 3D tech, I was really excited. I kind of trialed it to begin with. Basically, what that allows me to do is it allows me to kind of see my design into fruition before I've even gone into a sample, cut any fabric, done anything that might create any waste. So I have all my blocks approved with my supplier in terms of a fit. So basically, I've cut my sampling down dramatically. So all of that backwards and forwards with samples for fitting, a standard garment usually would have at least 3 samples made before it goes into production. So think of all the fabric, all the time to make it, the shipping, wherever it's been made, that's all cut down to 1 sample per garment now for me, because I basically see it in 3D, make all the changes to the design in 3D if there's anything that looks wrong, and then I'll see a final sample. Some of them, if they're more complicated, I might need to see another sample, but generally, because I've got my blocks agreed, that first sample is normally perfect because we've done all the refinement using this 3D technology, which is amazing. And then it goes full circle, because that 3D image is then used in my virtual store instead of photography. So that whole process, which also creates carbon footprint, is totally, I don't need any photography because I've got the cutout already with the 3D tech. So I'm still trialing, expanding that. So you'll see on my website there's a mixture at the moment of the 3D images and of the photography, but the idea is to switch to full 3D. And then what that will mean is I can actually show the customer much earlier in the process and get their feedback and interaction on the design, so that I only start bringing to market what is actually desired. I'm not making anything that, you know, isn't going to sell or will go to landfill. So it's kind of a full circle approach, really. It has an impact at every stage.
When it comes to that full circle, you know, there's a big conversation around kind of closing the loop, and not only kind of creating clothes that are, you know, ethical and recycled, but thinking about biodegradable packaging and like the lifeline of the clothes, like beyond the point of sale. Where do you stand in like the purchase process in terms of educating consumers and how they can be shopping more thoughtfully?
So I think it's partly the brands and the retailers' responsibility to educate the consumer, and obviously to do the best that they can from their full process to be as sustainable as possible. But I think the consumer also needs to educate themselves and to do the research behind what they're buying. I think the simplest thing that everybody can do is just to consume less. I think, you know, we've got into the habit of fast fashion, throwaway fashion, ordering 20 things in one parcel, knowing that you're only going to keep 2 and sending it back. That is the worst habit, because, you know, the footprint on that is huge. And what happens to the product in the fast fashion retailer when it goes back? Do they resell it? Not all of them. A lot of it will go to landfill. I think it's researching the style a bit further and being convinced that, you know, unless there is a major problem with quality or fit, that you really want that product. And also being prepared and understanding that spending a little bit more will mean that it will last you longer and the pay per wear will be less. It's just switching habits. And, you know, if everybody made small changes, the impact will be greater than a few people doing, you know, huge things. You know, everybody needs to do a little bit to make the change, basically.
So the industry is constantly moving, especially like within the fast fashion industry. And it's so important for brands like yourself to be able to be responsive and adapting to changes. Is it really important to you to be like super transparent about what you're working on as a brand?
So I think transparency is crucial. You know, striving to be a sustainable brand, you have to be transparent. You have to show people what you're working on, who you're working with, who your retailers are, who your suppliers are, and how the garments are being made. So yeah, I do. And I think also the consumer kind of demands that these days. They want to come on the journey with you, and they want to see behind the scenes and see what you're developing next and where you're going. So yeah, I think it's hard not to be transparent. But yeah, I think sustainability demands transparency. I actually have done quite a few behind the scenes videos of how garments are made. There's a couple of the garments have got hand smocking on them that take half a day. And I put those videos on Instagram, and, you know, people really enjoyed them. I had loads of comments. I also did interviews with a couple of the people that actually make the clothes. You know, I know them by name personally. I speak to them daily. So it was putting them in front of the customer so they could also know them by name and understand the relationship that I have with these people and how important they are to my business, because I don't see them as suppliers. I see them as part of my team. They're integral to the brand, because without them, you know, I don't have a brand.
So you mentioned earlier about your new loungewear collection, which is absolutely gorgeous. And as we all know, everybody's been like kind of wearing loungewear over the last 12 months, me, myself included. So, but I think the problematic thing is that so many of the fast fashion brands have been really like so quick to respond to, you know, that trend, that consumer desire to be shopping and consuming this loungewear. How did you kind of, when you were thinking about your at-home collection, like how did you keep up with the competition in terms of, you know, responding to the loungewear trend, but also stay true to your brand ethos?
So what was interesting is I had already had in my strategy for further down the line to extend the categories. So I launched with the event collections and was building it through the dresses. And then I always planned to kind of introduce the everyday and the at home further down the line. So I think because the idea and kind of the vision was already there, it made it much more natural to do. And obviously, as soon as we went into lockdown and no one was going anywhere, I kind of had to react and do something. And I think the fact that I found this dead stock particularly, so there's the two sides, there's the printed sleepwear in the silk bamboo, and then the merino wool collection. And I found the merino wool dead stock and it just felt so right for the brand. I wanted to deliver something for the ethereal woman. You know, I can't see her going from a silk dress to a pair of sweatpants. And actually, once I'd designed the collection, and obviously I tried and tested them myself, and I felt much better wearing the loungewear rather than sweatpants myself. I just felt a little bit more made up, if you know what I mean, rather than just like slouching around at home. So it just felt like it fit the brand, and it answered, as I wanted to from the start, it answered a gap for this customer that I'm targeting, to have a kind of more elegant, feminine and, you know, dressed up luxury loungewear for them. And now I've kind of extended the collection so that it's more kind of working from home separate, and you can kind of mix and match the pieces as you want. You can wear them with jeans or, you know, different pieces, but they'll work hard in your wardrobe. And I think, you know, I'm just going to keep them as a core part of the range now because they feel so, you know, integral to where I'm going.
Such an exciting time, and it's such an amazing collection to see it grow, that, you know, that you've worked so hard on this range, and, you know, the fact that you've got all of these different kind of exciting things coming up is absolutely amazing, because I can't wait to see what else you're working on.
Thank you.
So with your brand, with Ethereal London, like, I think what's come out over the last kind of like few years is that actually a lot of consumers are wanting that kind of added experience, not just kind of, you know, in store, but also they want experience online, and they really want to engage with their brands. How have you noticed that there's been a shift in how your customers are wanting to engage and interact with the brand online?
Well, if I think of my background, you know, I worked on the high street and, you know, for quite some years before the internet really kind of took off. So it used to be always in-store interactions, and, you know, smaller niche brands were harder to find. It was big names everybody shopped at. If I think, you know, the internet and social media has just opened that up to everybody, but what it has enabled is it's opened up, you know, like you were saying earlier, the transparency and the desire from the consumer to know more, because they have this access, they want more. So I think, you know, they want to know the story about how the brand came about, you know, the questions that you're asking me, they want to know about the founder, they want to know about me. That's why, you know, there's the page on the website. I didn't want the brand to be about me, but people want to know who it is and where it's coming from. So it's really important to tell them and be transparent. But I think also, you know, the likes of Instagram stories, reels. I mean, I'm not on TikTok, but I know I know how that's growing for a certain demographic, slightly younger than the market that I'm going for. But, you know, they react to stories. There's polls and things. They can ask questions directly and speak to me, and people are still surprised when they learn it's me that's replied, because I manage my own Instagram, and a lot of the customer service emails comes to me still, so I will reply if I have the time. And I think it's nice to give that personal touch. So I think, you know, the more access people get, the more that they want, and the more you kind of have to show them. And it is nice because it gives you, it's two-way, you get that back from them as well. So I found particularly Instagram polls to be amazing for putting up styles and saying, which do you prefer, which length would you choose? And what's really fascinating is, you know, there might be, I don't know, 100 people that all vote over 4 different lengths. and they all say they love the print, but each one of them wants a different length or a different sleeve or a different neckline. So it's that whole tailoring it for the individual. It really kind of spelled out to me that I was heading down the right path and that there is a desire for this. So yeah, I think it works both ways and it's positive.
For all of the criticism of social media, never before have like brands been able to have like such a strong connection with their consumer, because it is so pivotal, isn't it, that you know you can create all of the amazing dresses in the world, but if nobody wants to buy them, then you've got a flop, haven't you? So if you are creating, you know, styles that you know that your customers love because they're giving you that feedback, not only are you reducing waste because you know that they're going to love it, but also you're creating such a strong bond with them through that kind of transparency and through the shared values too.
Definitely. And they feel involved. If you're asking them, do you like this dress? Should we do it? Should we not do it? And they say yes, and you do it, then they feel like, oh, I made that happen. You know, we've done that because I said yes. So I think brands have to think about their story, and they have to think about the customer in that story, because they are, you know, they're the center of everything that you do.
So we touched on it earlier, and I mentioned about the virtual press day that you did earlier on this year, where you held online press rooms in your very own like virtual press room. It was amazing. How did you go about kind of developing that initiative? Because it's so clever.
So again, it came down to the very initial strategy and wanting to innovate the brand. Obviously, being an online brand, it's difficult to you can create a brand and a vision and imagery, but you don't get the same feeling you do when you go into a real store, when you can see how they display the store, you know, the product hanging. So I'd always wanted to try and translate that onto my website somehow, to show how I would display it or how a store might look and feel. So I basically found a company that had developed the software. They're called BrandLab. And they've got this amazing, you know, I think £3 million software that they developed themselves, and they can create anything from scratch. So I worked with the team there. They were amazing. I literally created mood boards. Well, they asked for a mood board. I think I sent over a 20-page PowerPoint document. I was like, probably a little bit overboard, but it was so much fun to do. And you know, when you want every little detail to really reflect the brand, and we probably spent about 2 or 3 months developing it and testing everything, and then launched it into the website. And I did it for being able to do things like that press day so I could showcase the collection, but also so that the consumer could see the brand and how it all hangs together. And again, that was something that I'd planned to do much further down the line, but with us all being in lockdown, it just felt like the right time. It felt like I needed to do it to give people that experience. And the traffic to that page of my website has been immense. It's been really popular. And I've been able to do things like, I offer a bespoke service as well. And, you know, I've had appointments in there with bespoke customers where we can talk about, you know, the different styles and things like that, which normally I'm kind of on a Zoom holding up dresses, you know, a bit awkward because you can't really get the whole dress in the Zoom, and it just makes it so much easier. They can watch a video of the model wearing the dress and see how it moves, and then I can send them some swatches and they can, you know, see the fabric, and it just makes the whole decision-making process so much easier. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how it's been received as well.
It's such an amazing platform. I actually interviewed Jennifer Drury from BrandLab 360 years ago, and the features that she was talking me through that were possible on the platform were incredible. Like even having a go at yours, like being able to navigate around a room and choose what products that you look at and look at the product specifications. Like it makes it feel almost real, that actually you you see how they're like visually merchandised like in the stores, so you get a feel of a real collection.
Yeah, so clever what they've developed, and I think they're always adding new things as well. So they're adding like the fitting rooms so you can pick style. So yeah, it will constantly evolve as tech does. And like I said, if you're, I wanted to kind of be at the forefront of that so that I can be part of that journey and deliver it to the customer at the same time. Not everybody's ready for it, but there is appetite definitely for that type of thing.
100%. So you've also, I was checking out on your website, had some amazing press coverage over the last little while, like featured in like the Telegraph, like OK, the Mail Online as well. In an industry where journalists are so inundated with pictures from PRs, which I know myself, how do you stand out from the other brands that they are pitching to?
So I'm not going to lie, it is hard. I find the whole PR side of things probably one of the more challenging aspects, but also one of the most rewarding, because obviously when you see that piece go up in, the magazine or online or on a celebrity, it is like a pinch me moment every time. It doesn't get any, less amazing. I think being clear about your brand and your story and sticking to your values. Don't try and be like someone else. Don't constantly be looking at what other people are doing. Do what's right for your brand. Approach the people that are in line with what you're trying to do, and be prepared to get knocked back and not get any responses, and don't be disheartened. I think, like you say, journalists are so busy and they get so many emails. The first time you don't get a response, you think, oh my God, they hate it, they really didn't like it. But actually, it's just that they've got probably 200 emails in their inbox of other people pitching to them. And I think just keep trying, be polite, be helpful. I actually I kind of have this PR guru coach who I work with. So I do my PR myself, but I work with her. I do coaching calls and she gives me kind of tips and advice. And she always says to me, do the so what test on everything that you send out. So think that you're the journalist and read it and then go, so what are you telling me that for? And like constantly challenge yourself on the information that you're putting in and make sure that it's relevant to the time and what they might be working on. I've started looking at what pieces they've written, and kind of trying to be helpful and sharing other pieces, of my collection that might be suitable to what they're working on. It's all trial and error though. I wouldn't say I'm an expert at all. I just, have been very lucky with some of the coverage that I've had.
Well, you've got an amazing collection, so it makes it easy to feature and to wear. You've got an amazing range.
Thank you.
So collaboration is key in the industry right now, and it's a real buzzword that so many fashion brands are collaborating with celebrities, like with the other designers. How do you go around like building hype around a launch? Because that's a key kind of thing at the moment that is being used to create kind of hype and excitement around like new collections, new launches. How do you go about doing that with Ethereal?
I think it's kind of giving little snippets of behind the scenes of what you're working on and a bit of a build up. So it's actually amazing how many times people need to see something before it properly registers. I think because they're kind of inundated with information all the time, I'm surprised myself how many times to show something. So it's kind of showing the same thing of a theme, but in different forms. So I use imagery, video, text. I'll use posts, stories, reel, showing them in different ways, making it interesting, adding music, giving them a countdown, so that they know, oh, it's coming, and then collaborating, using, the amazing influencers and press, if you can get it, to kind of shout about what you're doing. I'm actually working on a launch at the moment. I've got some new dresses hitting down, and actually a toddler collection that coordinates back.
Oh my God, so cute.
So that's in collaboration with a brand called Rosie and Lula, and they offer you know, they're experts in children's wear. They offer lots of different brands, and they kind of wanted their own collection. So we collaborated using my prints and their expertise. I've put this small little capsule together, and I'm literally so excited. And I've just secured a couple of Mummy and Me bloggers to wear.
Wow.
I've sent it out to a couple of, you know, key publications, and I'm just building the story. So I've got, you know, a MailChimp mailer to go out. I've got stuff for social media, and then obviously, hopefully, some press coverage. But yeah, you just never know how it's going to be received. You kind of plan everything how you think it should go, and then have to just wait and see.
So, as well as kind of like being featured in loads of magazines, you mentioned celebrities there, and you know, you have been picked up and worn by the likes of like Kimberly Walsh and Amanda Holden. How do you kind of identify the kind of celebrities or the influencers who you think really embody the values of your brand?
So I think making sure it would resonate with my target. Everything comes back to customer. Who would resonate with the customer? You know, not trying to go for really young influencers, because that's not who my customer is. I think going for women with a personality, because, you know, women that like to dress confidently, but are elegant. I think everything that the brand stands for is basically, and you know, people that I admire personally and think suit the brand and the styles. I think if you're, you know, you're trying to dress somebody that wouldn't wear that kind of dress, you know, you're approaching someone that wouldn't wear that kind of dress, it's never going to work. They have to have the kind of similar style for it to work, otherwise you're just going to get knocked back. But yeah, I think the celebrities that have worn so far have looked amazing in the dress. I've been so proud. I think Charlotte Hawkins wore one for her birthday weekend this weekend for like a garden party. She looks so gorgeous.
It must be a real, like you say, like a real pinch me moment, a real buzz, like when you get people who not only like meet the brand values, but who are like in the media kind of shouting about your brand. It must be so exciting.
Oh, absolutely. And you never know when they're going to wear it. You know, you send the dress to them and they say that they'd love to wear it, but you don't know when. And then all of a sudden, you know, your Instagram just goes crazy, your website goes crazy, and you're like, what's happening? And then you look and you're like, oh my God, she's worn it. And it's just the best feeling.
If it, like something sells out, do you ever think about restocking it? Or do you
so things like because I obviously promote timeless designs, you know, I don't bring in new styles if something's working. I don't just mark it down at the end of a season. I'll kind of continue to stock them. I buy everything in small quantities, or I'll do a pre-order. So, for example, the merino loungewear, one of the big influencers wore one of the pieces, maybe I think it was in March, and it sold out immediately. But I knew that was something that I wanted to keep in the collection as a core, and I knew I was extending the range, so I repeated it. But it's all controlled. It's still in, the repeat is still in smaller quantities, so that I know that I'm not going to end up with lots of stock going to waste. It's all mindfully done and, you know, managed, and it will be kind of taken into autumn winter. It won't just be kind of marked down at the end of summer.
So we've got your merino loungewear collection, we've got your kind of mini me collection. What else can we expect from Ethereal London over the next year?
So I have so many ideas of things I want to do. Like you say, collaborations. I'd love to get, I mean, every time I work on one of my prints, I can automatically see it on, you know, wallpaper, lampshades, homeware,
wow,
gym wear. Like I can just see how it can go through all different product areas. So I'd love to collaborate on some of those areas. I have started working on some small accessories already. So, you know, the team I work with, the supplier, they cut everything really cleverly to minimize waste. I'm actually going to share one of the lay plans on my Instagram so you can see how intricate it is, like a little puzzle. But any fabric that is left over, I'm basically creating accessories, so hair ties, makeup bags. And I'm hoping maybe for Christmas, this is very top secret, I'm hoping to maybe collaborate with a brand on some kind of gift purchase with the makeup bag. So like, I think perfume or scent.
Oh, wow. Well,
Excited about that.
we've heard it here first. Well, Annie, thank you so much for joining me today. Like, it's been so lovely to kind of hear your insights into this really iconic brand. I really appreciate you giving me like kind of all your exciting like things that are coming up soon as well. So we've got some like exclusive info there as well. So
thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome. And I hope to speak to you soon.
And you.
All right. Take care, Annie.
Bye.